if you don't understand how platforms like Shopify or Etsy works, you're going to struggle with sales, you're going to struggle with payments, you're also going to struggle with how you are going to get your products to your customers outside your country. Let me ask you something. Have you ever wondered if you can actually sell your handmade products or your craft to customers outside your country, like in the US and then in the UK? You can actually. That is why in this video, I'm going to break everything down for you step by step. So first of all, we're going to look at the difference between Shopify and Etsy. Then we are also going to look at which one you should go for as a beginner. We're going to look at the payment issues, and then lastly, we're going to look at how you're going to get your products to customers outside your country. Okay, so if you're looking forward to turn your handmade business or your craft into a global business, stay tuned. I'll be right back. So let's first look at what Etsy is. So Etsy is a marketplace, it's an online marketplace specifically for handmade products, vintage items, and creative goods. Okay, so simply put, Etsy is a marketplace where people who go on there are already looking for items like handmade bags, jewelry, crochet items, custom gifts. So instead of you to look for customers to go and buy your product on Etsy, the people there are already searching for what you are going to offer. So it is as easy as that. Okay, now let's look at the advantages and then the disadvantages involved in selling on Etsy. Okay, so the first advantage is that, like I said earlier, it has inbuilt audience. Okay, people there are already searching for um, handmade products. They're already searching for vintage items, custom gifts, creative goods. Okay, which you already offer. So if you set up your business on Etsy, you're not now going to look for customers. The customers are already there. You are just going to solve their problem. Do you understand? Yes, so it is easy. It is as easy as that. Okay. Now, when we come to the disadvantages, the first one is there is competition because it is specifically and mainly for handmade products, vintage items. All those selling there offer these handmade products. Okay, so you might not be the only one selling crochet items, you might not be the only one selling beaded bags, you might not be the only one selling candles, handmade candles. Okay, so you are going to face a lot of competition. There are a lot of competition. What you need to, unless you strategize your business well in terms of pricing, in terms of shipping fee and all of that, we'll come to that later. So apart from you strategizing your business well on Etsy, you're going to face a lot of competition. Okay, now another disadvantage about Etsy is that it has a lot of rules. Etsy has rules also, so unless that rules favors you, you cannot sell. Okay, so Etsy is not allowed in many countries, especially African countries. Okay, but we will delve deeper into it when we get to the payment part and also the delivery part as well. So it has competition one, and then the second one is it has a lot of rules that you need to follow. And then the last disadvantage is that it also has a share in every sale that you make. Okay, Etsy gets a commission. Let me put it that way. It gets a commission on every sale that you make. All right. So that is it about Etsy. Now, what about Shopify? Okay, so Shopify is also a market on an online marketplace. Just that Shopify allows you to run your own online store. So it's just like Shopify hosting your online store for you, or so you get to have your own something like website or online store, just that you're hosting it on Shopify. Hope that makes sense. Okay, and then as compared to Etsy, Shopify is open to all other niches, not just craft or handmade products. Okay, so you get to set up your own online store. So one advantage or one pros is that you get to control everything in terms of the price. They don't have a share, so you get to control everything from payment to delivery to everything. You get to control everything because you the online store you set up on Shopify, it's for you, and you are the one controlling it. Okay, so unlike Etsy where they have Etsy payment, which there are rules that you need to obey to get access to. With Shopify, once you create your online store on Shopify, you get to control everything. Now, it also has disadvantages, and then one of the main disadvantages I will talk about is that you are going to pay monthly. Okay, so I think is $30 per month. Okay, so $30 per month, you're going to pay $30 per month. Apart from that, you get to control everything. So one disadvantage is that you get to pay every month. So whether you make sales or not, you are still going to pay that amount. Okay, now I see that to be the only challenging factor in terms of disadvantages. But however, I will say that will be a disadvantage for beginners. Okay, so this is where we go into whether you should choose Etsy or Shopify as a beginner. All right, so I will not recommend a beginner craft entrepreneur to go for Shopify because you are now starting up. You are now setting up your business. So if you go with Shopify, where of course you get your own online store that you can control, okay, at your end, you're going to pay $30 per month. Now, whether you are now, and then one disadvantage that I forgot to talk about is that unlike Etsy where it has inbuilt customers or inbuilt audience, Shopify you need to bring your own audience. So if you are not good at marketing, if you are not good at content marketing and all of that, to bring customers to your Shopify store, you're not going to get sales. And then for Shopify, whether you get sales or not, you're going to pay. Do you get whether you get sales or not? So I will not recommend that for beginners because you are now setting up and then you won't want to take risk, such risk. Okay, you are setting up the small amount that you will have to invest in Shopify, and then at the end, if you don't get any sales, or even if you get sales that is not up to that amount that you paid for the month, you are running at a loss. Okay, so I will always recommend Etsy. I will always recommend Etsy for beginners because of its inbuilt audience, and also because it's mainly for or specifically for handmade products, vintage items, and creative goods. So this is why I'm doing this video for craft entrepreneurs or craft sellers. Okay, yeah. So I recommend Etsy. However, like I said earlier, Etsy has its own rules, and then one of the rules is that, or one of the things that you need to pay attention to before you set up your business on Etsy is whether or not your country is allowed on Etsy. And then that moves us to the payment issues. Okay, so of course I am in Ghana. I can set up an Etsy store, all right, with no problem. But then to receive payment, because how do I put it? I'll just say some African countries are blacklisted on Etsy. So from my research, I got to find out that people used to scam or fraud people with this international payment and all of that, which affected most of African countries. So if you are in Africa, or maybe those in Asia or any other continent, before you set up your store on Etsy, I will recommend that you do your research and find out whether your country is allowed on Etsy, and also if it is allowed, check whether Etsy payment is also allowed for you, because without Etsy payment you will get sales, all right, but you will not get ways and means to receive your money. I hope that is clear. So that is the problem surrounding payments when it comes to Etsy. But with Shopify, like I said, you get to control everything. So with Shopify, you can get Pioneer, you can get PayPal. If that PayPal too is restricted in some African countries, so before you even sign up for all these payment platforms, just make sure that your country is allowed. Okay, and then for Africans, I can say that Paystack Paystack is a platform that Africans can use to receive payments for from all across the globe. I will leave a link in the description so you can, if you don't have an account on Paystack, you can do that. Okay, you can go there, just click on the link, go there, sign up so that you can receive payment. That is, if you're going to use Shopify. But with Etsy, they have strictly Etsy payment, which if your country is not allowed, you're not going to get access to it. Okay, so I'm just trying to compare the two so you will know which one. Like I have already recommended for beginners, go for Etsy only if Etsy is allowed in your country. Now, back to the payment issues. So, with Shopify, like I said, you can get an independent payments platform. You sign up if it is allowed in your country, then you use that on your website or online store with Shopify. But like I said, Etsy only has Etsy payment, and then unless it is allowed in your country, you cannot receive payment through Etsy. Hope that is clear. At this point, I would like you to give this video a thumbs up if you find this video very helpful. And also, if you have not subscribed, please do subscribe to the Artisans Roadmap. Here, I teach people on how to turn their craft into profit. I have been in the craft business for like 9 years now. So, if I'm telling you something, I know what I'm saying. Okay, so that was just by the way. Now let's move on to delivery. Okay, delivery, and then it is one of the most challenging factors when it comes to building your business outside your country. Okay, sometimes even within our own countries, people that are far away from our region, we find it very difficult because most of the times whether in or outside the country, most of the times the delivery fee tend to be higher than the amount of the product that the person is buying. So you get to be disturbed. Okay. So yeah, with the delivery is a bit challenging, but if you know the ways through it, if you know how you're going to strategize it, it's going to work perfectly for you. So if you have set up your business whether on Etsy or Shopify, and then with your pricing of your product, just make sure that you add a percentage of the delivery fee in the price of the product. Do you understand? So if the product, if after calculating the price of your product, it ends as $50, and you think that the delivery fee is going to be like $20, you can add like $5 to the main product so that the customer, I mean, it's a trick I'm telling you, so that the customer won't be like or won't feel like the delivery fee is very expensive. Okay, me so in as much as they feel like it's normal, they have no idea that a part of the delivery fee is in the main price of the product. Hope that is clear. So you can use this trick to go about your delivery. Now, which delivery company should you use? Now I'll talk about the most common ones, which is DHL and then EMS. Okay, so electronic mail service, that's the EMS, and then DHL, we all know. So these two companies, and also FedEx is, if FedEx is available in your country, I would recommend you use that. I've been using FedEx for a while. Okay, I'm in Ghana. I've been using FedEx to send products to the US, and also I think one to India. No, I think with the India one, I use DHL. Okay, now with these two or three, that is DHL, EMS, and FedEx. Okay, so how you do this? sorry, what you do is you take your product after the person has ordered for it, send it to them. Now, sometimes the another challenge is that the customer will first ask for the shipping fee if it is not on your platform. They will first ask for shipping fee. You might tell the person that it is $15, which will be okay with him or her. But then when you get to these delivery companies, they will have to now weigh the item. Now, if they weigh the item and then it is more than 1 kg, is going to exceed that $15 that you told the person. So it's a big challenge. So sometimes you just have to first, before you set your shipping fee on your platforms, online platforms, first do your research. You can contact any of the customer service of these companies, find out from them if a product is below 1 kg or up to 1 kg, what is the amount? If the product is between 1 kg to 2 kg, what is the amount? What is the price? Okay, if it is between 3 kg to 5 kg, what is the price? If it is above 5 kg, what is the price? So that before you list the product on your online store, you can have a small scale somewhere. Okay, you go to any facility that has scale. You tell them you probably want to weigh items, so you know how to set up your shipping fee. You play with them. If they allow you, you just weigh it, so you know the amount. So you know the price already before you put it up on your store. And that is it for delivery. Okay, just make sure, sometimes if you send it to the delivery company, they do the nice packaging for you, but I will also recommend that you go to the extreme by adding a thank you note, an extra gift that makes the customer very happy. And then if he or she wants to buy something that you have, he or she wouldn't think of any other person than come back to you because of that appreciation that you showed to him or her. Now, the bonus tip I'm going to give in this video is that if you're going to sell online, there are some key sorry there are some key things that you need to pay attention to. One is product presentation, and I think everything that I'm going to say comes under this product presentation. Taking your pictures, because with the online store, the person is going to look at the picture first and then purchase. So if the picture quality is very low, the person will not see it clearly, or the person will not even be convinced whether to buy it or not. So you make sure that if you can go to the stream of hiring a photographer to do it for you, I think that is perfect. But if you're a beginner, that is going to cost you. So I would just recommend that you expose your product to natural light, at the sunlight. You expose your product to natural light, then you take your pictures, add some touches to it, adjust it a bit in terms of lighting, contrast, and saturation. Okay, so you do that to the product so that it appeals nicely to the person's eye. Because you're selling online, the person doesn't have the opportunity to look at the physical product. You are just showing him or her the picture, so the picture must be very presentable. Okay, and that is the key thing I would tell you to pay much attention to, whether you are selling globally or locally. So far as you're going to be posting them on your social media platforms and others, the pictures must be of good quality. Okay, now this brings us to the end of this video. However, I want to remind you that I have several videos on this channel where I tell you how to get your first $100 from selling your craft, and also how to price your product effectively. Okay, I'll leave all those links in the description. Check them out, and let's meet in my next video. Bye.